Hello and welcome to another episode of Fikaba Vet Chat. Tonight I'm speaking to one of Europe's foremost veterinary neurologists. A native of Spain, she moved to the UK, which I can very much understand, and is now probably one of the leading lecturers in veterinary neurology. She worked initially at the Animal Health Trust and is now an assistant professor at the Royal Veterinary College. At the recent World Small Animal Veterinary Congress, her presentation on veterinary neurology was awarded with the best presentation of the Congress. And if you get an opportunity to watch it again, I can highly recommend it. And I found it was very well deserved. So hello and welcome to Elsa Beltran. Hello, Elsa.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for the nice introduction.
And I appreciate very much, as everybody can see, you are still actually at work. So I hope nobody will call you out. And
oh no, that's fine. I told them I was talking to you, so.
I should point out, I mean, we are talking here 8:30 at night in the UK, 9:30 on the continent, and so much for hardworking veterinary surgeons. So very much appreciated.
Thank you. Yes.
So
lovely to
going
hear.
from Spain to the UK, let's talk about veterinary medicine first. Sort of, how did that come about? Was that always your plan, or do you come from a veterinary family?
No, I don't at all. Even I had two older sisters, and both of them are human doctors, and I just didn't want to deal with the human part. I always love animals. I don't know. I guess probably like many of us come to this because of the love we have to our patients, and I just love them. And then I love the medicine part, and I love probably also guided by my sisters that it was so enthusiastic about all the physiology and just the fact to be able to apply that to our family dog, and I just love that part, and this is what probably brought me to the medicine, and then from there to veterinary, because this is why obviously I loved.
Yes, and they're only treating one species. So
that's it. And then sometimes the same size, because they are not specialized in pediatrics. So, but yeah, and it was funny, the discussion, because sometimes we were discussing some conditions, and then they were saying no, because I was saying dorsal and ventral, and my sister, no, it's not dorsal. Is you say is more like superior? Say no, and then we realized that one was dealing like that and the other one was dealing like that. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's always, I always love it. I mean, I'm married to a human doctor. So my wife is a pediatrician, and oh yes, we have these arguments from time to time. But usually it's a funny thing with vets and doctors. It's usually so that sort of if we go out and socialize, and then there's somebody sort of who approaches my wife about, I don't know, medical matter or so. And by the way, I have had this and that. What can you say about it? So she's always, oh, no, sorry, not my field, because she's a pediatrician. So in 90% of all cases, it's not about children. So it's, sorry, not my field. But she said, but if you want to know it, my husband is a vet, and they always like to give their 50 pence of knowledge. That's good. So tell me, the university started in Valencia. So you studied there. Lucky you. That must have been
a nice and the
time.
sea.
Yes, exactly. So for me, still a place to visit. I love Spain.
Oh, it's beautiful, Valencia. You should definitely
in the Pyrenees, and I've been in the Sierra Nevada. I've been in Granada, but Valencia is still one to take off for me.
Good food, also. So.
Yeah. I mean, I should point out, I'm recording this from northern Sweden, so where the food is more blunt, and I tell you the temperatures are different. I just came home from work and we have minus 13 here, so it's crispy, I would say. Yes. So, So then Valencia, and then did you work in Spain at all, or did you then go straight over to the UK?
No, no, no. I did work as a general practitioner. I went to the south of Spain, well, south of Valencia, in the area of Alicante, and I love it. You know, I mean, I was very. I worked 2 years in general practice, and I found it so challenging. And but then I just feel I wanted something different, and then I met someone that point me to the idea of doing an internship, and obviously we're talking about 2003. So in Spain at that time, internships were very limited, where you could do it, and it was only at the University of Barcelona. So for me, it was like they will never get me there. And then I met a diplomate in internal medicine, and he really guided me a lot. And I applied to the internship at the University of Barcelona, but they didn't get me. And uh, and then I said, "Oh, you should carry on. Come on, keep studying." So he made me study the Ettinger chapters, and God, I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was studying all of this, and then I applied the following year, and they got me there, and I love it. I mean, it was at that time, it was 1 year and a half. Yes, it was a 1 year and a half duration, and it was a quite hard internship, but it was so nice. And then there I really started loving neurology, and uh, my passion started there when I did the internship, and I did the rotation through neurology. And I got a very nice advice, because they told me, why you don't go and visit neurology in another institution, because you may like neurology because it's here, because of the environment, because of the and it's true, sometimes you like just uh, the people as well, and that makes you like
Mm,
the speciality. And that for me was a very good advice. So during my internship, I applied for an externship at the Animal Health Trust. And then I went to visit the Animal Health Trust, and God, I love it. It was like, oh, I don't want to leave from here.
mm,
There were so many cool cases, and yeah, the neurologists there, they were just amazing. I just love it. And then they were super nice, and they say, "Okay, when are you finishing your internship?" And I said, "Oh, I'm finishing in April." And they say, "Oh, do you want to start here in May?" I think they saw my enthusiasm, and I just wanted
yes.
to be everywhere, and I just wanted to learn and learn. And it's true that sometimes you have to be at the right time, the right place, and that makes you to. So I think that was. I got lucky from that point of view, because they really gave me the opportunity to come to UK. Uh,
Mm.
so I will be forever grateful at the Animal Health Trust. And yes, I arrived in UK. That was 2006, and then yeah, I never left. And we are in
Yeah,
2021.
yeah.
So
It was the same with me. I mean, I came a few years before you, but it was so that I came over with the intention to stay for a year or two, and then turned out to be nearly 30 years now. So
yeah,
it's just, I mean, it's and exactly sort of what you said. I mean, one thing that I really appreciated was sort of there's this certain sort of teamwork, collegiality, which you have in the UK, which you have in very few other places. Certainly, I didn't find it in Germany, at least not at the time. I mean, I always say, don't generalize. It depends pretty much on
no,
the team.
totally, totally.
But I always love working in British teams and together with British or international colleagues in a British environment. They're just good at it. It's
Yeah,
as
so
easy as
so
that.
yeah, I
And I
love it.
mean, also as you say, sort of if you work in an environment like that, it's just so stimulating, and sort of everybody sort of puts their bit of knowledge in, and you all try to further and to advance your knowledge. Certainly more so at institutions like the Animal Health Trust or the RVC, I would say, than in general practice. But even there, it's the same thing. So you got stuck. So then first Newmarket.
Yeah, then I was there, like God, new market. It was so different to Barcelona because it's a
Ah,
tiny village full of
yeah.
horses, the
It's,
countryside. So but it's such a beautiful place. It's such a beautiful place, and so yeah, I was there for nearly 9 years, and I love teaching, and I love the
mm,
academy, and I love having people around and undergraduates. So that was potentially the part I miss at the Animal Health Trust, and then I spoke to Holger Volk at that time. I think it was around 2013, and I said, "Oh, I really love teaching," and he said, "Oh, you should come to the RBC." And then that's it. I said, "Okay." It took me a lot because I my heart was at the Animal Health Trust, and I really love that place. But it's true that um, I wanted to teach, and I wanted to be
yeah.
in academy, and I wanted to, and for me at that time, RBC was a great opportunity. So yeah, then I applied here. Was back in 2014, and yeah, since 2014 I'm here,
Mm,
and yeah,
mm,
it's such a great institution, and the students are amazing, and they just make you better, and I have so much to say from them, because as I said, it's just the challenging that they ask, and the questions and the enthusiasm, and they just keep you on the track, because otherwise yeah, so I think
that's what I often find sort of when I'm working together sort of with young colleagues today. It's okay. They always sort of then sort of seem to sort of look up to you and all your experience and things like that. And I think no, 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 no. It's sort of I'm learning likewise, partially because I have to explain. And if you have to explain, you have to think about why are you doing what, and sometimes by doing this explaining process, actually you certain things become clear to you
no,
again, where you
totally, yeah,
think,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
wait a moment,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, and
they
sometimes
didn't
they
have
ask, yeah, yeah, and they ask you
a,
questions, or they say, "Oh," or you explain it in a way that you understand it, and then they say, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense," and then you realize you have different techniques of explaining it, and then I love when they say, "Oh, now it makes sense," because
Mm.
sometimes they have so many concepts in that brain when they come to the final year, and there is no connection at all. So we always say, "Oh, we have to create association fibers with all that amazing knowledge that you have in your brain," and yeah, and it's
And
nice
then
to hear that.
the other thing is, I mean, I find it's sort of not only veterinary education, education generally is these days, I mean, it's international, it's borderless. So that means sort of you students might actually come up with solutions or with information also, which are completely new to you. Yeah, but I mean, I always sort of saying, okay, what is currently taught at vet school, or what did you hear at vet school on that subject? And then they tell you stuff where I think, whoa, 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 take note here. There's a good reason why they learned that. And I mean, in my time, sort of when I run my own clinics, if I had students from for example, from Barcelona, I had a couple of students, but also from Brunn, from Czechia, sometimes from Germany, some from the UK. And I was always impressed actually by the standard of knowledge students have these days. Maybe not the practical ability, so that's something that comes later, but the basic knowledge, I often say, well, sorry, but at that time during my course at university, I would not have been as far as
No,
you
no, no,
guys
no.
are, or when I qualified. What students can do today, it's I think far more superior to at least for on a theoretical point of view, far more superior to that what we did at the time. So
Totally. So
I
I think
think
we are doing a good job, no, in general.
yes,
So
yeah, I think so. I think
I tell them sometimes when they explain something and say, "God, you know more than my." Obviously, I can only judge about neurology, but God, sometimes they know more than my first year when I was on my first year of residency. So it's just, yeah, you feel proud on one because they apply that knowledge. It's not just they just got that knowledge; they apply it on clinical cases, and it's just so rewarding seeing that. So, but totally, I think they are such a high achievers. God, when I was on my fourth year,
mm,
I was so far behind what they are now,
mm.
and yeah, it's
Yeah, well, I
Fascinating.
mean, it's when you are studying, you have also other interests at the same time, which I think are also very, very important. So university life is not only about learning; it's
Yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
sort of preparing your way through life in all respects, I think. And I mean, my own sons are studying at the moment, and I I always remind them, make sure it's not only the courses you have to think of. Make sure you make good friends and also have good relationships and enjoy the time. It's once in a lifetime
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
because you keep them
experience.
forever.
Yeah. So, but let's go a little bit back again. Neurology. So, when obviously at some point, sort of during your course, then neurology became the theme. Why neurology? What pushed you or drove you in that direction?
I guess it was the challenging of the cases and the logical approach that even if they look so challenging at the time of presentation, when you apply a logical approach, they are I, w- I wouldn't say easy, but they are like they can be understood, and I think that's what really attract me. And I like also the combination of neurosurgery and having a knowledge of neuroimaging and having that part that you need to wide your knowledge and apply all of that on our clinical cases, having good results in some of the patients and seeing them recovering for such a sometimes challenging presentation is. I just find it rewarding, and then the more you study, the more you have your that neuroanatomy, the physiology, and it's just so fascinating because is really all about cables, no, and
Mm,
making connections and see how they
mm,
go, and still there are such a lack of areas that we don't know, and how our brain works, so our patients' brains work is just fascinating.
mm. I mean, what I find sort of so impressive with neurologists is, I mean, what you guys are doing, it's combining technical complex sort of organ or structure. So it basically sort of more internal medicine with surgery. So I think because I mean you not only sort of diagnose neurological disorders and deal with cases like epilepsy or something like that, but you also do laminectomies and things like that. So I mean, if I put it very bluntly, you are orthopedic surgeons with a brain. So
I
no,
never
no,
heard
yeah,
that
but
before.
it is,
uh,
yeah, no, because I mean, sort of, let's face it. So a lot of orthopedic surgery is carpentry, and it's sort of being sort of a skilled sort of it's sort of well just craftsmen, something like that. But neurology sort of demands so much more because you need to have an understanding of very complex sort of structures, and still, you need to know how to work a power drill, how to put screws in bones and things like that. So that is for me sort of this is you have to be top on both. So that is quite scary. And I have been in my times of as a first opinion practitioner always so happy that I work in an area of the world where I could say with quite a few of my cases sort of no, there are people who are much better at this and
Yeah,
then
but I
sort
think
of
that's
refer.
probably the neurophobia that we sometimes talk about it, and it's important that sometimes cases with neurological dysfunction they can be dealt quite well in general practice, but it's true that there is a general um, yeah, is that fair to even approach them, because sometimes, as we said, they have such a challenging presentation that it really put you like, oh, I don't want to harm, I don't want to waste any time, and sometimes we don't even I don't want to talk about clinical reasoning, but just don't approach, because using that you may be able to make your list of differentials, and they may not need to rush into a referral center sometimes. So,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
is I can see, because I remember when I was in general practice, no, when I was even doing some practice as a student, and I saw my a dog with a vestibular syndrome. I said, God, what the on earth is that? And then yes, you see them now, and it's like, okay, let's approach the case. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I saw you're also a diplomat now in veterinary education. What did that involve? So,
Oh, that I think that it's hard, because obviously we have to do that on top of our work. It's not like you stop working for that, but it's in a sentence we can say they teach you how to teach, because I don't know that we are not born knowing how to teach, and this postgraduate course is really is it's hard, because it's a lot that you have to learn, but it just gives you an overview on how to teach, and then there are small things, because sometimes we don't realize for it, but it's different when you teach in a small group versus a large group. And in a small group, for instance, sometimes you have a dominant student, and you need to know how to handle that dominant student. So it's just show you that there is scientific background behind that, and there are studies that show that there are these techniques that works, and the nicest part is doing it, and then you go and you apply that on your lecture, so you apply that on your small group teaching. And there's so much literature on veterinary education, or in education in general, that I would probably I would not have been aware of if I wouldn't have done this postgraduate education. So
well,
yeah.
and I mean, we all benefited from it at the last European and World Small Animal Veterinary Congress. I mean, I watched your presentation. I thought, wow, this is just. I mean, the graphics you had in it and the way you explained everything. It was just so straightforward. And I mean, we were here talking complex issues, and then to be able to bring that over, I thought, whew, lucky students. I mean, if I would have had a lecture, I mean, we sometimes had so boring lectures on really good subjects, interesting subjects, and just some people can talk about boring subjects, yet they are good narrators, and they know how to somehow pip it up so that actually everybody stays tuned. So, and I mean, that was the case. I mean, with your presentations, they were absolutely, I mean, mind blowing. How is that sort of with your graphics and things like that? Do you have a team that sort of does that for you, or
That's
is
a
that
lot of
something?
hours of me in front of the
Yeah.
computer. No,
Mm,
but the good thing is that you can reuse them or change them, or when you have done a few of them.
yeah.
And but to be honest, it's a lot of work. But
Yeah.
for me, or what I have seen over the years, having the students, is that making them to draw it, making them to make, it's true that every student may have different way of learning, and there are people that learn more reading than with a graphic. But overall, what I can say is that having the concept of drawing it themselves, seeing it where they go, this dynamic view of the pathways, it make them to understand it better. For that, obviously, they need to have the concept clear, and they need to know
Mm.
where they need to know the anatomy, and they need to know some of the pathways. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. But what really makes them to say, "Oh, wow, now it makes sense," is to, for me, is to have that discussion with them. And it's true that when you lecture on a big audience, you cannot have that one-to-one discussion, and not even on Zoom, which I guess is even worse. But yeah, but is I find it fundamental two things teaching neurology. One are the graphics, and second are the videos, because seeing is believing. If I have to explain you, yeah, you have dogs with paradoxical vestibular, you will never believe they exist, or you have paroxysmal dyskinesia and these movement disorders, and if you don't see, you don't believe it. So I think the is great that
Difficult to
nowadays.
understand in any
That's
case.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's great that everybody has kind of a device that can record
Mm.
nowadays. So it's what
That's
we.
that's I mean that what I utilize that also a lot in first opinion practice. That sort of, I mean, it's usually so if somebody comes in, say, epileptic case or so, obviously the dog doesn't have an epileptic seizure when they come into the practice, and unless it is status epilepticus sort of, and it's not coming out of it. But otherwise, the majority of epileptic patients come in and they're perfectly fine when you examine them. And so then something like a smartphone is really good, that you say, well, we can't find anything now. We've done some bloods, but if something like this happens again, record it and then send it to me, and then we review that. And this is so helpful,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely helpful. So,
Yeah, yeah, and you realize how many potentially dogs we thought they had epileptic seizures, and then when you nowadays that the owner recorded, like, oh god, this is not an epileptic seizure. So you question how many dogs, because obviously when I started in 2006, there were no device on your phone that you could record, so we didn't get that from the owners.
Um, talking about sort of internships that you did, and sort of you said sort of it was really hard at the time. How is that these days, sort of getting internships at the RBC, or
Uh,
also are you still yeah, completely sort of overrun with people who want to do internships? Or I mean, I see that the current working market, labor market in veterinary medicine in the UK, here in Scandinavia, for example, in Germany, it's desperate. There is a huge shortage of vets, and I don't know, you will know that better. I even heard, although Spain in the past produced or seemed to have overproduced vets, even there appears to be a shortage of vets. I don't know, sort of. But how does it filter through to academia? Are you seeing less applicants for internships, or is it difficult to get interns these days? How's the
is
situation?
No, no, no. The applications are a lot here for the internship, and you see many people applying 2 or 3 consecutive years. So the only thing that I think is still, at least in academia, and I can only talk about the RBC. Yeah, there are a big number of applicants, and obviously not everybody can get. And I would say that if you really want, just keep trying, because is obviously you have to prepare yourself and you have to just continue to improve, but
Mm.
is probably um, like is more likely you will not get it on your first application than that you will get it, and that doesn't mean that you are not worth it at all. You just need to probably, obviously, that time there was someone better than you, but that doesn't mean that you don't deserve it. So I would continue to apply, and definitely, because as I said, is more likely that you will not get it on the first time.
So now, looking away finally, sort of a little bit from veterinary medicine, a Spaniard in the UK, sort of, and I mean, you are a very busy person. You are working. You have your lecturing committee commitments, and on the weekends you're often at congresses. So what are you doing if you're not working? Do you have any sort of hobbies, or what's your passion, or how does your life sort of outside of veterinary medicine look like?
Oh, I cannot complain. I'm very happy with my life out
Mhm.
veterinary medicine, and I just like to be underwater anywhere. Well, not anywhere in like warm water. So yeah, I'm a scuba diver, and
Okay.
I just disappear, and I go to anywhere underwater,
Scuba,
and
scuba diving in the UK?
no, 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 not here. Definitely
Ooh.
not here. So,
No.
no, to be honest, I never dive here in UK. I would love, because there are very nice places but it's just I don't do cold water, and I know
That's
there
the
is a
thing.
dry suit, and I could do it, but it's just. But I would love to see the seals. They are beautiful, but no. And I'm a shark lover. I love to dive where there are sharks, and yeah, I love it. So
Okay.
yeah, this is what I do. Otherwise, I'm
Interesting,
just
interesting hobby.
yeah.
Dangerous hobby.
And I love the manta rays. I just love them, and so although I'm just at the mountains trekking, I'm an outdoors person. So yeah, I do anything but staying in the house. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, the thing is, I mean, yeah, okay. I always was surprised, although the UK is in many places quite populated, they manage to keep their sort of open spaces. So things
yeah,
like national trust areas, also, for example, this is really good. Nevertheless, I mean, also with Spain, so the Pyrenees or the Picos or the Sierra Nevada, ooh,
no,
fantastic.
no.
I could go.
It really got me as well the fact that despite the weather, there are so many outdoors activities. And when I arrive in Spain, if it rains, you just don't do anything. Like you stay in the house, like everything stops. And here it was like, oh, Elsa, you don't do things because of the rain. You will not do anything, and they just don't cancel things because it's raining. So they just do it.
A question of clothes, yeah.
So yeah, so I think that made me to do things even if there is rain. So
Christmas for you, are you going to stay in the UK? Are you
no, I'm going
to
home.
Spain?
I'm very lucky. Well, let's see what happened with all this. Unfortunately, the new variant, but if they don't lock down here, I will go to Spain. I'm very lucky that I can go. So.
Good. Elsa, thank you so much for this fantastic
interview.
If anybody would like to comment on this episode of Fikava Vet Chat or has ideas for future episodes of Fikava Vet Chat, please email us on vetchat@fikava.org or contact us via our social media outlets. Elsa, thank you very much, and
thank you so much.
Nice evening. And
you too.
Again, thank you very much for this brilliant interview. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.